You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take.
Plan. I'm the enemy, because I like to think.
You can travel like a Bobby doll. You can hang out like a biker's mom. You fit in anywhere you go. Bring your own style just to steal the show. You shine so well when I'm flowing your step. Drink with a light, you drink your smoke on your bed. Love by all yourself, you know. You're always involved, you're the star that show.
Welcome, everyone, to Fultonland Live. We are back. We managed to survive another week of insanity in our respective insane geographic locations. Myself being in Southern California, United States. Mr. Russ Leach being from England in the UK.
Being slightly closer to the epicenter.
Yeah, there you go. And I wasn't able to do the show last week due to scheduling conflicts. My wife and I share an office these days, and we'll be doing so for the foreseeable future. And she had some important presentations to give to some, very important people at her place of work. So took the week off last week, but we're back, baby. And it looks like Adam Miller is joining us in the chat. How's it going, Adam? Good to see you. Glad you could join us. And today we're going to give some updates on progress with the Outliers Volume 1 book, some updates on Outlier Comics publishing and plans moving forward. There's been some changes in recent days, almost all positive, I would say. And so I wanted to fill you guys in on that. And also take a look at some campaigns that people may or may not have seen. I think they're kind of flying under the radar, but we'll take a look at them and see what you guys think. See if you are interested in checking them out further, maybe purchasing some books. And then if there's time, I may show off a book that I opened up this morning that's been getting a lot of positive buzz lately. So that's pretty much where we're going with today's show. Russ, how the heck are you today?
Well, yeah, a bit frustrated with Clip Studio. I was trying to find the dropper earlier on, and being a boomer, I couldn't find it. Normally I just go alt, but I've had to change all my setup. I've got a new drawing board, so right at the moment I'm in front of a drawing board, and I have a Wacom tablet that's connected to the drawing board, and then next to me I would be doing my inking, so I have it all on that one plane. Yeah. Rather than using a stand. And I've got a new computer coming, or I've got a new computer, but the screen hasn't turned up, so I can't swap everything over. And for some reason, Clip Studio is playing me up, and I don't quite know why. But yeah, apart from that, everything's cool. There's just too much work to do, but that's a good thing. That's a very good thing, because it keeps paying the mortgage. So. Yeah, I hear that. I very recently turned in my first editing pass on Arc Athena Book 3. Excellent. And
Eric Canetti was very happy with what I turned in. So that's going to be going over to Mr. Eric Weathers for lettering pretty soon. And that was I would say it might be the most difficult of the 3 books so far to edit, but it's also, I think, the best of the 3 books, and I say that with the caveat that I think book 1 is great. I think book 2 is even better, and now I think book 3 is even better than that.
Well,
so
that's the way you should be going.
It's living the dream, really.
Yeah.
You want to be working on stuff where you feel like, things just keep getting better and better all the way around. I want to say hello to Son of Liberty Radio, who joined us, and Roland Katsaragi. Good to see you guys. Son of Liberty is saying that Russ, your audio is coming through your camera, not your mic.
I will check that out. Hold on, 2 seconds. Keep carrying on. Please hold, caller.
Yeah. So as far as work goes, with Russ, comics, that's his main gig, as he say. That's how he pays the mortgage. With me, it's a part-time career. I'm an at-home dad during the day, and then I make comics on nights and weekends. So for me, my freelance income funds my production on my own books, and has helped subsidize the startup costs for Outlier Comics publishing. So I, while I don't rely on the income to pay the mortgage, fortunately, Lady Fulton handles that. I do rely on it to be able to publish my books independently and get things to a point where I feel like I can put together a really professional looking and feeling crowdfunding campaign. And that leads into some of the updates for today. But yeah, whether you're making comics part-time or full-time, ideally you want enough work coming in to make however much you need to make. And then if the projects are ones that you really enjoy on top of that, well, then you're living the dream. So, Roland says, I remember when Joe was just another person in Art's chat. Yeah, I definitely started in the chat of however many CG channels there were in 2018 with Art's schedule when he was living in Southern California, and my schedule at the time. I was able to catch, I think, just about every one of his shows. I was very active in the chat. He's since moved to Texas, and both of our schedules have changed quite a lot. So I haven't been able to hang out in the chat of his shows. I was on his Pontificator show for quite a while when he still lived in California, but after he moved to Texas and changed the time of the show, I was no longer able to make it. But yeah, I was very active in EVS's chat and all of the other channels for quite a while. And then it just got to the point where there was too many channels to keep up with everything. And I was also going through a lot of health problems that, kept me from doing a whole lot of chatting, but still did a lot of listening. And I still try to listen as much as I can. Although now, doing a lot of freelance work, I'm not able to catch as many shows as I'd like. But as far as the freelance work that I was talking about, some of you may have seen that the Lucent 2 Painted Death has an email list, and Mike Bancroft has been working hard on that book. And I'm really looking forward to start editing that one. I imagine that that's going to be coming up here pretty soon based on conversations I've had with Mike. Son of Liberty Radio says, I'm just another person in Joe's chat, but working on my sci-fi space opera war novel. I like it. And a comic idea for a public domain superhero horror comic. Well, Son of Liberty, if Terror in the Trenches by Von Klaus is any indication, there is an interest out there for a public domain superhero horror comic. And if you make it look great and you make it read great, then I have no doubt you'll be able to get that comic made and marketed. As far as being just another person in this chat, as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as just another person. I really appreciate every one of you. And I do appreciate the comment, though. I remember very, very clearly working away at the Outliers for a long time and never being able to have anything to show for it. And quote unquote being just another person in the chats. But Roland said something here very important. He said, I realized just last year that in order for people to know I exist, I actually have to engage with them. That is correct. And Ted Lehman says, all hail the great beard. Well, back at you, Ted. Good to see you. It's been a little while, and glad you could join us. Appreciate you.
Well, hopefully I don't sound like I'm in a bucket anymore.
Your audio has definitely improved.
Oh, there you go. It's because this wasn't. It's because I'm a boomer.
Oh well, you're in good company then.
Okay, boomer.
There you go. We've got Jasper joining us. How's it going, Jasper? Good to see you. And Son of Liberty approves of your audio situation.
Yeah, it's a very good mic actually when I plug it in.
So, was there? You were talking about being very busy with work.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything in particular you'd like to discuss, or is it all very hush hush?
Obviously, Only Death Can Save Us is still there. As I put out a note to say that it would be, unfortunately, which I absolutely loathe doing. I'm late. And it's moved to June, so I've got to finish off the last third of that. I'm absolutely loath doing that, but at the end of the day, valuable work came in that I couldn't refuse, so I had to make that decision. On top, all of that was layered on top of the fact that since Christmas, personally, all hell had broken loose. Karen had been in and out of hospital. All other kinds of things were going on, but that wasn't something that I wanted to sort of lay down as an excuse to people. I just said, look, the universe has kicked my butt just for the first quarter of this year. It's made me late. I'm really sorry. It will be worth your while. Please hang in there. I've got a new date of June. My daughter is actually helping me now. She's doing the colors on it.
Oh, nice.
I had a couple of people in and out on colors that didn't quite work out. And
is she doing flats only, or have you trained her up in?
She's doing what I was doing. Yes.
Nice.
So she's doing that for me. And she's doing some part-time work elsewhere. She's just in flux at the moment. Said she'd give me a hand, so that's what she's doing. So
nice.
that helps me out. I've got the last of the pencils going over to get lettered by Eric next month. It will be next month as of tomorrow. So it'll be this month. So in a few weeks' time, and that'll all sort of bundle into the June print date, which is when I'm expecting to go to print in June. On top of that, I'm doing some monthly work as well for other publishers in the UK and Europe. Some of that is Doctor Who. I work for Doctor Who magazine on a regular basis at the moment. Doing penciling and inks, and I get Mike Summers, who worked with me over at Unstoppable Comics, to do colors on that. Like I say, I'm on another magazine that I can't talk about just yet, which again is quite intensive. And then I just picked up a job from Tim Quinn, who used to work for Marvel. He's the editor on Only Death Can Save Us, and he does a lot of charity books. I don't do
Okay.
it for charity; I get paid.
Yeah.
but he comes to me and throws me stuff every now and then. So jumping in there as well. And then, of course, I sketched out your cover today for Outliers.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all non-stop at the moment. And like I say, the universe kicked my butt for the start of this year, as it had been kicking everyone's butts for 2 years now.
Yeah.
But it was my turn, and I got a good kick in. And we're just kind of coming out of the end of that now. So hopefully I can get round to finishing the book off, which is looking like it's going to happen, and continue with the other work. And then I'm going to look at publishing some books through Amazon and
Oh, okay.
see how that works for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting times. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Talk about getting your butt kicked. I've been going through that myself. After getting a particularly nasty case of COVID with a side of double pneumonia in July of 2021, and that went into August. And then recovering from that, all total, it set the Outliers behind by several months. As a matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, but if I remember correctly, you had you started inking the Outliers when I was hospitalized, or
Yeah.
did you? Okay, that's what I thought.
think around the time of the illness, I was finishing off the pencils for the last part, and then I went straight into inks.
Yeah.
And you just before you went off into hospital land, you said, "Yeah, just finish, go, do it.
Yeah.
Just we'll worry about it afterwards," which I did.
Yeah,
and
and
so yeah, that was a while ago now.
yeah, that was I got the coof in July of 2021. I was hospitalized at the beginning of August, and then recovery took months. I was able to slowly work my way back into work on comics. I think maybe 2 months after I came home from the hospital, something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, the point is that the project had been behind schedule as a result of my adventure in hospital land, and I did what I could to try and keep things rolling. You did a great job inking, essentially serving as your own editor there for a while. And I was very happy with the results. I basically said to myself, I'm just going to ask Russ to go, and then if there's anything that I need changed later on, then I'll just work with that. I'll either adapt to it or we'll digitally clean it up or whatever. But we need to get this work done. I'll make sure that I can keep paying Russ on the schedule that we had agreed upon and all of that stuff. And so I was really happy with how that turned out. And then you talk about life kicking people in the butt. I had kind of got to the point where I was ready to get back to working on the Outliers again. And I touched base with Ink Spots, who was our original colorist. And it turns out that while I was going through my little life and death situation, he was going through some difficult times as well. And it ended up producing some good stuff and some not so good stuff. But as far as the Outliers was concerned, it became clear that he was going to need to move on from the project. And so it was with great regret that I agreed to that. But it turned out to be the best, I think, all the way around. And I've maintained ever since we announced he had to leave the project that I've got great respect for what he does artistically. I'm a big fan of his work, and I asked him if I could still keep him on the hook for doing some artwork for the campaign that we talked about him doing in addition to originally coloring the book. And he was all for that. So I still have that planned. I actually need to touch base with him fairly soon. But that was, it was from a publishing standpoint, it was another setback because then I had to find a new colorist. And fortunately, I had somebody already in the back of my mind in case Ink Spots, got taken away in a tornado to the land of Oz, and I suddenly had to look for a new colorist. As a former professional project manager, I try to have contingencies for my contingencies, and so with every person that I ended up hiring, I also try to keep backup lists of people if needed. I can just try to call upon at a moment's notice, and so that's what I did. I contacted Matt Yackey as soon as I got off the phone with Ink Spots, and we started talking, and he came on board, and I've been very happy with Matt's work coloring the Outliers.
Yeah, but
As a
the
matter of
book is
fact,
looking good. The book is looking really, really good.
yeah, he is almost done coloring the 48-page main story. There's really just a few pages left. I just gave him notes on a couple yesterday, was it, or the day before? So he's getting really close. And that brings me to one of the big announcements, which is that even though production on the Outliers Volume 1 has continued to go very well, as we've tried to kind of get back on track after my COVID experience, unfortunately, I've had some stuff come up in my family life that as soon as I started recovering from COVID at home, it became apparent that there was some things that had happened in the preceding weeks that I would then have to address. And some of it was within my immediate family with my wife and kids, some other medical stuff that has come up very unexpected that we've had to work through. And then beyond that, there are some other things with other family members, and the whole thing got really complicated really fast. And I found that with all of the demands on my time and my focus to take care of family, between about end of August, beginning of September of last year, 2021, all the way through to the present day, what has happened is that all of the I guess I would describe it as campaign planning and preparation, that all of those activities have taken much longer. I should say they've gone much slower, kind of checking off the boxes and working my way through all of the stuff that needs to be done has been very slow. And I've tried multiple times to speed things up where possible, try to find new efficiencies and multitask whenever possible. But it's just been a never ending avalanche of stuff to deal with on the home front. And some of it has to do with the insanity that we're dealing with in California related to COVID restrictions. I actually thought I was going to have to take my kids out of school at one point, and it looked like it might have to happen very quickly. And some of it involves some of the medical stuff I've alluded to. I'm not going to go into details, but essentially it was just one thing after another. And so I decided to take about a month to see if I could lock things down and still make an April launch date. I was hoping to go like in the third week of April. But recently some things have happened where it's just become very obvious that I would not be able to launch and run the type of campaign that I've always planned for the last several years to do. And I think that readers and certainly anyone backing right at the beginning, I think they deserve the very best on day one. And if we can improve upon that as a campaign goes, then great. But if I don't think I can bring my very best on day one, then that means I'm not ready. That means I need more time to get things to that point. And it's
You
all
want to at
very
least be at 100% when you start, don't you? You want to be
Yeah.
ready to go and not have everything in place. As whatever your decision is, whatever your plans are, at least to have them intact before you get going. So it's perfectly acceptable to do that kind of stuff. I mean, just as an example of how life, as one-man bands, one-person bands,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call them, as single business people, it's difficult. You can cover a lot of bases, and occasionally, like life will kick you in the backside. So as an example of this, month ago, the day I brought my wife back from hospital, we had a storm, and half my studio roof blew off and went into the car window. So this kind of stuff comes and gets you. Okay, and my wife has obviously done the best she can, but she can't. She's still ill, and hopefully that will be fixed in hospital next week. But so I'm a man down, if you see what I mean. I'm a player down because we're a team.
Yep.
But my wife and I are a team. So even though she doesn't do an awful lot as far as the business is concerned, she's backing me up all the time, and I have like only 20% of that backup at the moment. And that slows you down incredibly. And it's not just backup for business, it's backup for life, for your family life. So it's not about excusing lateness or excusing, plan changes. It's just a fact of life that when creators like ourselves, so many people that do crowdfunding work and independent work, this is where the buck stops. We don't have a team of people helping us on a personal level or on a business level. We might have other people that we send off stuff to for for inking or for coloring or for lettering or whatever, but we still have to manage those people. So for instance, the stuff that I do for Doctor Who, I do the pencils and the inks, but I have to manage the colorist.
Right.
And for the other magazine I'm doing, I have to manage a colorist as well. And then on top of that, my own work, I have to manage the colorists and the letterers for that stuff. So it's not oh woe is me, but it's just a fact of life, a fact of business. That
obligations that have to be met.
Yeah, obligations have to be met. And if you're chopped at the knees by an incident, by a thing that happens to you, there's nothing you can do about it. You just got to soldier on the best you can, but it will slow you down, and it will the best laid plans of mice and men. Eek.
Yeah. Agent Cub joined us. Welcome. And also I want to say welcome to the Art and Times of Jay Ryan. I'm not sure if Jay has joined us before. Looks like a new name, but if so, then welcome back. And if this is your first time, well, welcome to the show. Really glad to see you here. And Agent Cub says, you look different, Joe. Did you lose weight or did you shave? You look good. Well, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. Yes, I have lost quite a bit of weight. One of the good things that came about as a result of my COVID experience is that this whole chronic health problems that I had lived with for years and even in some cases decades disappeared along with COVID and pneumonia. And I realized I was able to finally start exercising again for the first time in many years and to do so regularly. And so I got right back into it. I used to be a competitive athlete, believe it or not, at one time. And so after recovering from COVID, I actually started exercising while the early days of recovery from COVID because I had so much muscle atrophy. COVID just destroys muscle density, at least the version of it that I had. And it basically turned my muscle mass to pudding. So I had to rebuild that. And in the process of building that back up, I was losing a lot of just fat pounds. And it was just melting off. So I've been able to continue doing that. I work out normally 6 days a week. Once in a while, I think there's been 2 or 3 times I've only gotten in 5 days a week, but I'm loving it. And I've lost about 50 pounds. So yeah, there's a lot that I'm no longer carrying around, and I'm going to keep going. I've got some fitness targets in mind. I definitely want to get back into the sort of shape I used to be in when I was a competitive athlete. And so far, so good. So yeah, that is one of the kind of the crazy benefits that I never would have expected to come out of the whole near-death experience. Oh, okay. The Art and Times of Jay Ryan says, I'm Bullet Ninja Hagelman. This is my art account. I know Bullet Ninja Hagelman. Well, welcome on your art account. Good to see you, Bullet Ninja. So let's see where. Oh, Adam Miller says, that's awesome. Good job, Joe. You can definitely see a difference pre-COVID and post-COVID Joe. Oh, thanks, Adam. Appreciate you. David Feed asked, what sport did I do? Well, I did a bunch of them. I played competitive soccer. That's football to the rest of the world. I played every position except goalkeeper. So I did a whole lot of running, and I was in great shape there for a while. I played lacrosse. I was a midfielder. So again, whole lot of running, great shape. I played American football briefly. And then I played a whole bunch of club sports, and I did everything from swimming to, recreational basketball to all kinds of stuff. Just very active once upon a time. And it was only when I developed chronic health problems that I stopped playing sports. As a matter of fact, after my wife and I got married, I almost joined a rugby club team here in San Diego, and almost played for San Diego State University because I knew a couple of guys on the team, and it was clubs, so anybody could, if you were good enough to walk on, they'd let you walk on.
Rugby's a proper sport.
Yeah. Yeah. You were a former rugger, aren't you, Russ?
I used to play rugby, yeah. In my I used to play cult rugby, so under 25s. But I haven't played since then, so that's like 30 years I haven't played. But I used to play a lot of rugby. I was on a lot of squads, local town squad and county, that kind of stuff. But no, all my efforts now are in a dojo.
Yeah, I definitely had to modify things as I was dealing with, chronic health problems here and there. And then in the late 2000s, a back injury I sustained in the late 90s had never been diagnosed properly, and it got worse over time. And in 2008, my back just gave out completely after a long, slow decline, and I ended up hospitalized. And then, long story short, after trying to get it taken care of non-surgically, I ended up having spinal surgery at the beginning of 2009, and basically went through a 2-year physical rehabilitation process. And unfortunately, they were not able to completely resolve everything. They did take care of 3 different problems, but they weren't able to solve the 4th. And so when different people have heard me or one of my friends talk about my bad back, that's what it refers to. It's basically an incurable condition as far as I can tell.
Oh, that's awful. They got the first 3 conditions, but insufferable old git. They couldn't fix that.
They couldn't get rid of that. Apparently, there's no pill for that. There's no injection. There's no scalpel maneuver.
I suffer from it myself.
Mo Biggs, welcome, Mo. He says
Mo.
Rugby's a little too soft for #crackpack, but we got a Thugby League.
Thugby League.
Well. Crackpack bow to the Thugby League. Roland says running has helped strengthen my weak back along with eliminating my bad posture. Yeah, I'm kind of in the opposite camp, Roland, because of my back. I'll make this real brief. They did 3 different procedures. One was to remove the ruined remains of one of the discs in between my lumbar vertebrae. They replaced it with a plastic spacer, and then they removed a bunch of arthritic bone from inside my spinal column, drilled it all out, and then they took titanium screws and then fused my lumbar vertebrae together. And so what happened is I basically have a column of bone and titanium for my lumbar spine. But what that does, though, is it causes spinal stenosis above and below the fusion point, which means that you kind of develop arthritis above and below, which produces extra bone that narrows the spinal column. And I was told that my running days were over because when you have a spinal fusion like that, then you lose flexibility in your spine, and that puts a lot more strain and pressure on the remaining flexible vertebrae and discs and everything that's working together. So I was told to stay away from all high impact activities. So fortunately, I can walk very quickly, so I can get my heart rate up. That's not a problem. I can still hike. I can go backpacking. Ironically, I can lift heavy loads up and down all day long. I can carry a heavy weight on my back, no problem whatsoever. But if I start running, then it's less than a minute before the back pain starts to escalate. So yeah, my running days are over. Jay Ryan says Joe's the $6,000 man. Yeah, exactly. I'm the discount version of Steve Austin.
Depending on, obviously, I wouldn't suggest this with severe back injuries, but for anybody else who's just looking to strengthen their core, martial arts will do it every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to study martial arts back when I was still a competitive athlete, and it's something ever since I ruined my back, I've desperately wanted to get back into it. Now with all the progress I've had in the last 7 months or so, reclaiming my fitness, dropping extra weight, by being able to finally exercise regularly and dropping a lot of extra weight, it's helped my back pain significantly. And so it's like a positive feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
You know, the more you get your health back, the more you can exercise, the more you exercise, the healthier you get. And so I'm just going to keep continuing for as long as I can until I reach whatever my peak fitness level will turn out to be. And from there, just try and maintain it. And I'm hopeful that once I get close to that point, I can take up martial arts again, because I really, really have missed it. But then that kind of gets us back to, with all of this talk of exercise and everything, it kind of gets us back to the subject of the, Raiden Radio's here. What's up, JP? Good to see you, brother. He says the weather is finally nice enough to start running again today. Well, sounds like today is a great time to go for a run. Agent Cub says you should look into DDP yoga. It might help with your back. It's helped a lot of wrestlers and people that have destroyed their bodies. I have looked. I looked into it when I was still unable to do even that, but it is something that's on the list for me to circle back to, because I did really like what Dallas Page had developed, and I have done yoga in the past and really enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it. So yeah, it's definitely something I want to get back into as well. And David Feet says it's crazy that if you hurt your back, you have to exercise your back to an extent to get better. Yeah, the back is one of those things. Everything is connected to it, and if you ruin it, it's an adventure to try and get your life back together, I'll tell you. But speaking of getting lives back together, so I mentioned how the Outliers schedule had been set back in 2021 due to my life-threatening illness and fighting that and recovering. Prior to that, we had life-threatening illness to deal with in my family, and I had to put the Outliers on hold completely. I started working on it actually in 2018, April of 2018. And in 2019, I had to put everything on hold because a close family member was diagnosed with what is often a terminal illness. And so I just put everything on hold, just focused entirely on family. And fortunately, things turned out as well as could be expected. And there's been a lot of ongoing treatment since then. And that's actually one of the reasons why I felt like I needed to pull back from an attempted April launch of the campaign, because there's some medical stuff that came up this year that so far all the news has been good news, but it was a pretty stark reminder that we may be looking at some surgery for one of my close family members this year. And it may be sooner rather than later. So I need to be available as a caregiver if that happens. I've been serving as a caregiver for multiple family members lately. And so, kind of all of that together, the delays from my COVID experience, the medical stuff with some close family members I've been dealing with, and then also dealing with the state of California, whose government and governor apparently keeps trying to make life as difficult as possible. Let's just put it that way for so many of us citizens of this once great state. And I had to deal with the possibility of pulling my kids out of school at a moment's notice before they could get some inappropriate things pushed through the school system. I'll put it that way. And fortunately, we did not have to take them out of public school. They're able to stay. And but I'm now faced with the possibility that they may or may not be attending public school in August, which is when our school year starts up again for 2022 and 23. For the moment, it looks like they will still be able to attend. But we have been so kindly reminded by Governor Gavin Gruesome Newsom that he might change his mind and can change his mind at any moment. So he and the state legislature are still playing games with the citizens of this state as far as our liberties or lack of, if they decide to try and take them away. So that was another thing that I'm still looking at. So when I talk about pushing the launch out from April to another date, right now I'm tentatively circling the September-October timeframe, which is fall here in the U.S., because I should know by then. I should know shortly before August what the situation is with my kids' school and whether or not I can trust that they can stay in public school, or whether I have to become a homeschool teacher overnight the way I did with COVID lockdowns in 2020. So, that's pretty much the situation. From COVID in July of 2021 into about January now of 2022, I thought I was able to kind of get everything caught back up on the business side of things, but things have been moving much slower than I anticipated, just due to all of the family stuff I've had to take care of. And then some state government stuff, some school stuff involving my children, all of it together just really slowed down business activities and campaign planning, even though I'm happy to say that production on the book has continued almost without any further delay.
At this rate, it'll probably be ready to go to print as soon as you go into the campaign.
It's looking like
it's just going to be ready to go.
It's looking like the book will be print ready before the campaign launches. Yes. And depending on how the summer goes, actually, I need to have a conversation with you about some of this stuff. Some of the things beyond the main story that we planned to offer as stretch
Jim.
goals. Jim, it's good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining. And I also want to say hello to Skip Edwards Art. It's good to see you, Skip. And Pedro Ang.
Yo, Pedro.
Pedro is the animator of that little bit of animation that you guys may have seen at the beginning of the show. And so he's one of the guys that I'm working with, one of the freelancers, along with Russ and Matt Yackey. I've got Eric Weathers signed on to do lettering and the pre-press work for the book. I'm going to be here as soon as Matt finishes up the colors, which is going to be pretty soon. I'm going to go ahead and do a final. Well, it may or may not be final, but I'm going to do a dialogue pass and really tighten up the dialogue for the script. And I'm going to try to bring in an editor that I lined up before I got COVID. And then since then, things have just been insane for both me and for him. So I want to touch base with him, see if he can still help me edit the book. I really would like to have an outside editor give an objective, do an objective editing job. If for some reason he's unavailable, then I do have other plans, and I will make sure that the book is edited by people in addition to just myself. I think that's really important. And but then we're also going to be looking at possibly producing a bunch of stretch goal rewards before the campaign kicks off. And it would be stuff that I could, if the campaign does well enough, I could send out to people as rewards on the campaign for Volume 1. But if the campaign doesn't do well enough, then I can always hold those back for Campaign 2 and basically have paid for them in advance. And then offer them, in Campaign 2. So either way, I want to emphasize that as a former professional project manager, my backup plans have backup plans. And so every time something has happened to kind of take things a little bit off the rails, I've worked to not only get things back on the rails, but then also formed contingency plans for any unforeseen consequences as a result of any possible delays. So everything on the book is still moving forward. We're just going to be doing the campaign at a later date than what I would have liked, which would have been April. So at this point, I'll say my tentative goal is to launch the campaign sometime around September, October of 2022. But with the situation in California, with the public school system, with my family and that ongoing saga, I'm just going to wait and see and take things as they come, continue to produce everything that I've always said I would produce, and just keep people updated as we go along, because the potential readers, the potential backers, you guys are why I'm doing this in the first place. Otherwise, I would just do freelance work and I'd be content to do it. But the publishing stuff, that's partially for me, but mostly for readers who seem to really want the Outliers to become a reality. So I'm happy to say that the book is a reality. It is being made. It's very far along in production, and I just can't wait to show people through the campaign process. I want to get caught up with the chat here. I realized I was rambling on for a bit. We had some people join. I did say hello to Jim Cox. Roland says, the way the U.S. has so many splintered branches of governance that have so much power on a small scale is baffling. I'll tell you what, Roland, the U.S. is definitely an experiment in government. It was an experiment from day one, and it's continued to be that all the way through to the present day, and will continue to be that. I mean, it's definitely an odd duck on the world stage. There's no doubt about it. Who else? Oh, Raiden Radio. JP says, I'm cheap and available if you need an extra set of eyes, brother. I appreciate that very much. You are one of the people that I've got in mind. So, yeah, let's keep lines of communication open. Son of Liberty Radio says, if you're on Twitter, join the quote-unquote Comicsgate community. Yeah, that was something I just saw today. I joined it myself. John Malin is who I saw. That I don't know who formed it. I was getting ready for the show. So I haven't really looked into it. But anything to help keep people communicating, I'm for it. Roland said, "Do you remember the 21st night of September?" That sounds like a V for Vendetta reference, but
I think
that's Guy Fawkes Day.
It's a song,
okay.
Isn't
Gotcha.
it?
Oh, I don't know if it is.
Isn't it by Earth, Wind and Fire or something?
Could be. Son of Liberty Radio says, "Get out of Cali, move to Texas. Much freer here." Amen to that. I have been trying to convince my wife for over 20 years now to leave California with me. I will say that due to family complications, I've never been able to convince her, but in recent years, I have gotten some indications that when family situations change, she'd be willing to go with me on a new adventure far away from California. So I look forward to that day. Speaking of Texas, Black Rose Comics is here. Welcome, B Rose. How are things going with Cerebrum? I have watched that campaign with great interest, and I'm very happy for you, man. Just can't say enough about that. I'm so happy that your campaign got funded, and I'm really rooting for you moving forward. Roland says, yes, it's the opening line from the hit track September, which has been part of meme culture for a few years now. Speaking of campaigns, Russ, I rambled quite a bit about the state of my affairs here in Fultonland and here at Fultonland Castle. Let's close out the show by looking at a few campaigns, shall we?
Yes.
Some campaigns that you and I have looked at with interest, but people may or may not be aware of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to... Now, it looks like you have something to share. Do you want to do that before or after we look at the campaign?
It's just a page from Only Death.
Let's look at that first.
You can look at that. And so that's some of the latest things.
Nice.
So you can see D is having a bad day. So
it certainly looks that way.
Yeah.
Chrissy is a little bit perturbed.
She's a little shocked by it all. So
I reckon she probably hasn't seen D get lit up like that before.
No, it's very disturbing.
He's quite a powerful guy.
He is. He's very powerful, and that's obviously part of any hero's journey is to make them vulnerable, even though they appear to be powerful. They have a journey, and his journey. He was already a super being. And even in the first book, he was vulnerable to the enemy, to Satana, who was a being of even more power than himself. In fact, the only way that he managed to bring Satana down was with his three compatriots from the four horsemen, and with the aid of the divine, with the aid of God, effectively, the supreme. So in this one, we have a situation where some of the elements that he's involved with, some of the things that are part of his powers, are used against him. So he's once again vulnerable, and Chrissy actually becomes more of a partnership in the second
book.
Which builds to a crescendo in the third book, because the story's already there in my head, where we close out with a truly cosmic ending.
Well, I have to say that as a backer of Only Death Can Save Us 1, long before I hired you to draw the Outliers, I will say that as a reader, I am very much looking forward to Only Death 2.
I think it's a little bit more fun. It's a little bit crazier. It's a bit more Stalin.
Oh well, the first one was a lot of fun. So
and it'll
bring it on.
It'll go even further in the third book. It's going to push the boat out completely.
Nice.
So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed producing it. Like I say, I'm on the last part of the pencils right now. They'll get inked really quickly, and coloured really quickly as well. And so everything should be going to print in June.
Cool.
This is you asked me earlier for a choice.
Yeah.
And this was my top choice. I think what Dave does is brilliant. I've got the first 2 issues. I'm pretty sure that I've backed this as well. It's brilliant stuff. It's just it's superb comics. That's what it is. It's comics. It's fun. It's got great action. It's got a brilliant roster of villains. It's all out fun comics, and Dave deserves every success with it. Somebody else who's doing some good things as well, which he hasn't got anything out at the moment. It's Roland Mann. I think he used to work for Malibu and Marvel. He does a lot of stuff over on Kickstarter with Silverline Comics. So if you're ever over in that world, go check out Silverline. He does some great comics, and he's got some really good people working for him.
Okay, cool. So anybody, if you like superheroes, and if you like creators who greatly respect their readers and potential readers, then check out Perfect 10 number 3. And,
great art as well.
And Crossworlds. It looks like there's maybe a crossover book in there as well.
Ooh, that would be good.
Okay, so let's also take a look at Tales from the Natverse number 2.
Sim does some great stuff. Look at that 80-page anthology. Nice.
By our man Simon Potier, otherwise known as Sim, up there in Montreal, Canada, the People's Republic of Canada, maybe. Going through some similar stuff to what we're handling here in California.
God.
I mean, California.
California.
So shout out to Sim, one of the hardest working creators I've had the pleasure of meeting. Sim, Russ, Mike Bancroft, Eric Canetti. These guys are all cut from the same cloth. They love comics. They're hard workers. They put everything they've got into their work. And so looks like Tales from the Natverse 2 has 7 days left. If you haven't checked out the property before, I encourage you to do so. Lots of action, lots of visual stuff to set your eyeballs on fire. And you definitely he doesn't have a whole lot more to go to get this thing funded, so I think he can do it. 7 days, about $700. Let's see if we can make that happen.
I would be surprised if that didn't happen, but yeah, get out there and do it.
Yeah, so
and he is living his dream. That's what he wanted to do. It's always what he wanted to do. So
yeah,
good on him. Good on him.
Absolutely. We're going to look at one more before we close out the show. And this is Tales of Novaterra by Rob Schaefer, otherwise known as Passion for Drawing. Anybody who's a regular in the chat for the show I co-host with Mike Bancroft, Late Night with Comicsgate, you see Passion in there in the chat. He's been on the show a few times. This is a project that has funded, but I personally would like to see it do quite a bit more in sales. Another one that's in its last week. I can't remember if it's the first 30 days or second 30 days. But if you like Sword and Sandals, if you like Brutes and Babes, Magic, check this thing out. He's got
work.
Yeah, he's got some great art in here. And from what I understand, the stories all connect some way and somehow. So if you get a chance and you like that fantasy storytelling, check out Tales of Novatera.
Good eye.
I think that's it for us, Russ.
Yeah. Yep.
We're at an hour. You've got stuff you need to do. I got stuff I need to do. The people in the chat have stuff they need to do.
Yeah.
So let's say it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I hope that everybody out there in the chat will go forth and make it a great day if it hasn't been already. And hopefully, if the world doesn't fall apart, we'll do this again next week.
Yeah, definitely. That's what Tanya.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Don't let authority stop you from doing what you love. You are in control.